Skudink. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. I'm Joey Moss with Bad Boy Gaming. We got big news today. What is that big news exactly? Well, Magic the Gathering Arena. Wizards of the Coast has announced historic. 100% it's going to be a thing. There was talks about this months ago, them introducing a new format to Arena. This one is called Historic. And people are in an uproar right now. What is Historic exactly? We're not 100%, but they're going to slowly leak cards into the Historic format, where cards that are in Standard are going to be playable. And when Standard does rotate, those cards that rotate out of Standard will continue to be able to be played in Historic, this new format. It's not going to be modern. It's not going to be vintage. It's not going to be Commander or Brawl or Standard. It's going to be its own thing. And there's some people in an uproar about this because one of the things that was announced is that historic cards are going to cost 2 wild cards to craft just one historic card. That's going to cost a lot of money. We're going to hear Wizard's side of the story here in just a minute. I got some clips I want to show you guys. Is this a good idea? No, absolutely not. This is the stupidest idea you could possibly think of, Wizards. They're going to charge double the amount to craft these special cards, which, if you want to play in Historic, you're going to have to spend double your wild cards. Already, it's very difficult for new players to get competitive decks in Standard. There's always a new deck out, someone that, put something together and boom, it's kicking butt, taking numbers, and it's taking out the other, decks. Like, right now, it's a really exciting meta in Standard because it doesn't seem that just one deck is just wrecking everything or 2-3 decks, there's a nice top 8, That being said, I don't like these wild cards. Paying 2 for 1 sounds like a bad deal. And a lot of people are pretty upset about this. Here's where they officially announced it. This was on their Twitter. MTG Arena. MTG Arena. We should call it MTG Arena. What kind of historic cards will you see in November? Here are some ideas. And they throw out Brainstorm, Firebolt, Wormcoil Engine, and Dark Confidant. Now, Brainstorm, if I'm not mistaken, it's limited to just, I think, Legacy or Vintage. In Wormcoil Engine, you can find that card. A bunch of these cards. Dark Confidant, Modern. What is this going to do? What does it all mean? How many cards are we going to see in this Historic? Well, they do give some insight on that as well. But let's first see some feedback on what people think of this. Charging double for wild cards. These are just a few people I picked at random. I'm sure some of them are competitive players, and some are just your average Joe like myself commenting. From the top, historic cards at MTG Arena costing twice the wild cards is just such a baffling idea to me. The format is going to be new, with fewer opportunities to play than Standard. Who in their right mind thought that you need to punish players wanting to try it further? Got 411 hearts or likes or uptweets, whatever you want to call it, on Twitter. I agree, 100%, man. You are really punishing people who want to have a better experience. You're charging them double to play in this, And if Standard's already enough, I know a lot of YouTubers and streamers who are not sponsored by Wizards of the Coast who do not get their cards for free. Some like myself. And others out there, it's expensive. We can't just grind it out in order to put together these decks that we showcase on our channel. They cost a lot of money. I'm not going to give an exact number, but I'll tell you right now, personal experience, I've spent over $1,000 so I can bring the content to you guys in your living rooms, at your workplace. I know a lot of you people watch my videos when you're at work. I think that's hilarious. Over $1,000. And I still don't have all the cards. You know, I don't have all the mythics. I think I have almost every rare, but I don't have all the mythics. Quite a few. But anytime I have to build a new deck or I see something crazy out there, you know, or try to throw some jank together, those cards add up. You know, every time a new set drops, I'm spending $200. So I can open tons of packs, get a bunch of wild cards, you know, to craft other stuff that I don't end up getting because it seems for some crazy reason, don't know why, they make the really, really good cards really hard to get when you open up packs, at least in the beginning, like a week or two, it seems, when a new set drops. I don't know if anyone else has noticed that but myself, but yeah, it's not cool. So not only that, but now for me to build decks in Historic, I have to spend double my wild cards. That's bonkers. Right now, I only have like 5 mythic wild cards, and I'm sure that's more than a lot of you out there have. Not cool, Wizards. You're going to piss a lot of people off. Here's someone else. Why even introduce Historic mode if you're going to try and kill off the player base before it even launches? It makes no sense. 2 wild cards per card is a really bad move. Someone else, 2 wild cards to craft a Historic card is an appalling design choice. This goes on and on and on. I can literally show you hundreds upon hundreds of tweets and even comments. If you go to Wizards of the Coast, some of their latest videos, people are in an uproar. They're really upset about this. And for good reason. It's coming out of our pockets and it's digital. It's not like we can take this home with us. I'm upset by this. It's not cool. Let's just find out a little bit more about Historic really quick. When we first started talking about rotation and renewal, we also introduced our plans for Magic the Gathering's Arena non-rotating format Historic. At the time, we announced that Historic would only be available as a best-of-1 play, and there weren't any plans to add additional events, older sets, or ranked at the time. Queues at the time. And today, we're here to say that most of that has changed. Hooray! Rewriting Historic. After considering some player feedback, we went back to the drawing board and decided on some core criteria for our non-rotating format, Historic. It should be distinct from other constructed formats, namely Standard. There should be some competitive aspect to it, ranked, finding a balance for the long-term health of MTG Arena. But with great criteria comes great complications, says Wizards, or something along those lines. Yeah, we know. Like charging double. How do we balance existing player collections while still making a format accessible to players who want to jump in? How do we make it feel distinct from Standard while balancing the development time needed to add older cards? If we add new player queues for a brand new format, what does that mean for the quality of matchmaking, including how long it takes to find a match? That's a really, really good question. That is a really good question. Well, we put all the thought into these questions, and we're excited to share the changes we've made. Hooray! Congratulations, Wizards. We're so excited. That is some good questions, though. That is some really good questions. New cards. Who dis? Let's start with I'm just going to read this one part. I'm not going to go over all the bulletins. This is just one little shred. Let's start with bulletin number 1. How can Historic provide a fun, unique digital experience that didn't just feel like old Standard? Well, the answer of add new cards to Historic may seem rather obvious, but we landed on a pretty awesome way to leverage MTG Arena's digital playground and growing catalog of Magic cards. So starting in November, they plan to add new cards to Arena to access Magic's history for playing Historic formats and events. No restrictions on set types or rarities. No holds barred. New. We also plan to do this regularly, starting with approximately, this is important, 15 to 20 cards in November, with reoccurring goal of adding more new cards every quarter after that. These cards will mostly come out independent of Standard sets, and we'll get to that in a second. Are you going to be able to, I guess you have to play in drafts, I'm going to assume. They do talk about that in other areas that I didn't put up on here. But you're going to have to draft these cards also. So they're going to have specific packs to draft this. I mean, there's a lot of questions that have not exactly been answered yet. But I did hear there will be draft. But are you gonna sell booster packs of this Historic format? And if you're introducing 15 to 20 cards, are they only going to be able to be crafted by wild cards? How the heck is this going to work? Are they randomly going to blend into the draft with regular Standard packs? I mean, this is all like up in the air. I'm really curious. I'm excited. Don't get me wrong, but it's a lot. We all know Magic the Gathering Arena is pay to play. Magic the Gathering from the get-go has been pay to play. It's pay to win. Pay to win. You can play for free, but it is pay to win. It's the original, number 1, first of its kind, pay to win card game. The better the cards, in paper, of course, the more sought after they become, the more valuable they are. And yeah, those decks that win, the prices go up in those of those cards. And so your wallet gets loaded onto the floor. And you go broke, and that's kind of how it works. But we all know this. I'm well aware of this. Honestly, I'm not crying too much about it, because it's the first pay-to-win game that ever existed, and it still continues on, and it's strengthening, if anything. I'm glad Arena did this. I'm glad Arena exists. Let me say that. All right, it's a lot of fun, and I really hope they can. I really hope they can figure this one out, and I really hope they retract their 2-to-1 wildcard thing. But if they're only introducing, and here I like to play both sides of the fence, if they're only introducing 15 to 20 cards, I mean, these cards, you're going to want to play these cards in the decks. You're going to want all these cards because they're going to be amazing. Brainstorm, you're going to want over other cards in Standard for sure, to use in the historic format. Just to throw an idea out there, Wizards, what are you doing to us, man? We know players would love to see entire sets added to MTG Arena, but speaking candidly, the development time required to add hundreds of cards from older sets, knowingly that only a few may have a positive impact on Historic, was more time than we could honestly commit. Adding full non-standard sets may come eventually, which is pretty cool, but right now we'd rather focus on adding meaningful cards on a timeline players can look forward to. We are working with Magic R&D to help ensure the new additions create a fun and interesting format, but we're also interested in player feedback on which cards you'd be most excited to play with on MTG Arena. Give them feedback, guys. That is really important. Give them feedback. Some people said they want to go with Black Lotus. Yeah, let's get Black Lotus up there. Why the heck not? Let's put all the craziest, awesomest cards into this set. Now, they're not going to do that. I don't think we're going to see a Black Lotus anytime soon. But down the road, maybe they'll introduce Vintage and Legacy. But they're not kidding, man. It takes a lot of time for the developers to write up the code and all that stuff. I don't know enough to even get into this conversation. But I do give respect to the team who's doing it. Is it fair? 2-to-1. Pay to play. You're basically going to be paying to play, because you're not going to be able to have a competitive deck in Historic unless you have a lot of wild cards to craft these Historic cards. What are your thoughts, man? Woman, guys, gals. What are your thoughts on this? I'm excited, but also I'm already broke, man. And I only see myself getting further in debt in the MTG Arena world. But it is a lot of fun. And yeah, I don't want to end this on a sad note or, like, oh, this stinks. Wah, 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 wah. I think a lot of players, 99.9% of us, are a little upset about this, the 2-to-1. But we are also excited to see Magic the Gathering Arena adding a new format. I think that's really cool. And Brawl's right around the corner, too. Should be exciting, guys. Let me hear your thoughts. Skadoosh.